All right, we're ready. Good afternoon. Early afternoon siesta session. I can feel the relaxation. It's nice. This is going to be a little bit of a bait and switch. I'm going to show you something cool that Cisco and the Salesforce development team have cooked up that integrates the two platforms, one being the Cisco Spark Cloud Collaboration, and the other, of course, the Salesforce Lightning application. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how what we demonstrate and implemented in that integration can be extended to other kinds of applications that you guys might be developing, that other people might be developing, and kind of show you the power of integrating collaboration, communication between people inside of applications, and how easy that can be. So my name is David Stout. I'm with Cisco in the DevNet organization, our developer outreach and support group. My role is as a developer evangelist. So I've been working with Cisco Collaboration APIs for a long time, but it's starting to get really cool. There's some really exciting things happening. We're doing presentations at Dreamforce and getting lots of traction with lots of customers and developers. So I think this is pretty cool stuff, and I hope you do too. Let me switch over to the right slide presentation here. So the vision is Cisco Cloud Collaboration, and we'll talk briefly about what that is, mixed in to the Salesforce Cloud CRM experience that you're familiar with. Everybody in this room is probably familiar with Salesforce and the power there to organize leads and contacts and stuff like that. You all use communications as well: phone, text, chat messages, video conferences, online meetings. But the twain really don't particularly meet, right? They're different experiences. And the vision we have is to unify those to some extent. So what is Cisco Spark? It is Cisco's cloud collaboration platform. And what that means, if you're familiar with things like Slack and Skype and Facebook for Business, it's persistent chat, right? You have chat rooms, you can chat one-on-one in groups, you can share files, you can escalate into a video call, a group video call, you can share screens. All this stuff across mobile clients from Android, iOS, PC, browser, etc., including the rich Cisco telephony and video features available in the enterprise, like our big telepresence systems that you may have seen on a TV show or our video desk phones. All of those are integrated in with an advanced, cutting edge, and very popular enterprise telephony system. So this adds the persistent chat, it adds a lot of mobile capabilities, as well as very powerful APIs that were built from the ground up to enable embedding this collaboration into other stuff, not just the clients that we provide. Just to show you real briefly what Cisco Spark looks like. Here I have an instance of the Mac OS version. You have bots. I can do French translation with this bot. I can play Zork. I can talk to individuals. This is persistent chat. If you're familiar with Slack, you can do code embedding. You can easily share files and other attachments. It's really easy. In the PC clients, the web clients, the mobile clients, all have very powerful HD encrypted voice and video communication. So there I am, beautiful. So in and of itself, Spark is a great platform. It's really targeted at enterprises. It is designed to be very secure. It has end-to-end encryption. If you choose, you can actually hold those encryption keys in a server in your data center. So Cisco never has access, never sees any of the traffic, the actual content of the chat messages or the files that are exchanged or the video calls. That's all completely private. There are a lot of of compliance and administrative and reporting facilities with Cisco Spark, as well as, like I said, connection to all that Cisco telephony gear that you may already have in the enterprise, contact centers, telepresence systems, et cetera. So it's a cool platform. Check it out. It's becoming a lot more popular as the features get up there and the stability and everything is getting very, very good. One of the things we really hope drives popularity is APIs. So what we have done is work with Salesforce to provide a bunch of options for integrating the two things. The premier thing that was just released last month that I'm going to show you real quickly here is a project between Cisco developers and Salesforce developers to actually build a native UI integration into the Salesforce Lightning experience so that you can embed that Cisco Spark collaboration, chat, group chat, file sharing, voice, video, collaboration directly in your Salesforce UI to improve productivity and communication. But there's a whole bunch of other ways that you can integrate Salesforce and Cisco Spark already. There are third-party connectors, such as the one from Bucher and Suter, that does many of the same things as the native integration. I think maybe perhaps a few more at this point. There are integrations in the Spark Depot itself to get alerts from Salesforce into Spark rooms when events happen. If you're familiar with If This Then That and Zapier, Built.io, these kinds of integration platforms, we've also worked with them to allow you to easily integrate and automate Cisco Spark collaboration with their solutions. So just to show you a few of those things in action, this is the Cisco Spark and Salesforce integration. If you're familiar with Lightning, this UI is extremely familiar. As an administrator, you can enable the Spark integration experience, I believe, just by going in and checking the checkbox, creating some permissions, and assigning them to your users. You can use this integration with a free Spark account. You don't need a paid account to get the vast majority of features, so it's easy to try out and check out. But the concept is that built into the Lightning UI are some Spark collaboration features, right? So in this case, this account has an account owner, Connie Watson, and in her contact card, there's some additional Spark enhancements. So I can see that she's currently inactive on Spark, but I can start a message with her right here inside Salesforce. This is persistent chat. So everything that I've exchanged with her, files I've shared, et cetera, is in there. It's in the history. I can scroll back through there to remind myself what's going on. If I have an exchange with Connie, these messages can automatically be saved to the Salesforce record just by clicking that button. So I have the option to add my own notes, edit, and save that to the notes section of this particular account. I can create additional Spark rooms, or what we call spaces, for different projects or groups that need to be working together, maybe small groups that belong to this account, and we can link those to this account as well. I can start a video call with a group or with Connie just by interacting with her call, right? So this uses browser web RTC technology. This is built into Chrome and Firefox, and soon, as I understand it, into Safari and Edge. Hey there. Those guys are down at the booth, I guess. But this is a native browser experience. Nobody needs to install any plugins. There's no release versions that need to be pushed out to people's desktop. It just works and is integrated into the flow. Let's see. So the other cool thing in the utility bar, there is a widget here that lets you have access to all of your Spark rooms, and you can flip between them, continue the conversations that you may have been having in your mobile Spark client on your way to work, as well as the Spark rooms that belong and are attached to your accounts in Salesforce. So a pretty cool integration. If you have Salesforce already, you might be interested in checking out Spark at the same time and seeing if this integration can help streamline things a little bit. You may not immediately switch over your entire telephony system to Spark, but check it out. I think it's a pretty cool idea of embedding collaboration, real-time communication, the ability to exchange messages, files, to start a group call right on a dime, right in the UI and with the data available to you inside the application. I think that's a very powerful concept that developers will really enjoy. The reason why I'm at this conference as DevNet in the Cisco Developer Program is that many, in fact, all of the elements here, for example, this particular piece of UI for looking at rooms and the screen for doing voice and video calling and messaging, these are actually exposed as APIs and SDKs for the Spark platform that any developer can use to integrate this stuff, this collaboration experience, into essentially any web application or mobile application. So if you don't like the way we've done the Salesforce integration, you can do your own, roll your own, make it look the way you want. If you have a customer-facing shopping site, banking access application, some sort of customer service portal, it's quite easy using these pre-built, full-featured HTML widgets, as we call them, to drop them in, wire them up to events and contacts within your organization, and essentially collaboration enable your applications on web and mobile. So how do you do that? What are the capabilities? In addition to just hooking up Salesforce and Spark, what can you do? Quite a bit. Just a brief introduction about DevNet here that I'm going to skip over mostly. We're the developer outreach organization. In addition to Cisco Spark, we cover and provide support for literally hundreds of APIs for the wide range of Cisco products in collaboration and elsewhere in networking and IoT, security, et cetera. One of the cool features of DevNet that I've been working on a lot over the last year are the learning labs. We'll see that in just a second. These are live interactive tutorial experiences. We provide support. So custom development with Spark, the APIs and SDKs. So Cisco Spark as a platform itself is pretty cool, like I said. If you are a medium, large, or small enterprise that's concerned about security, concerned about encryption, data privacy, management, being able to manage this communication experience, Cisco Spark might be something to look into, especially if you have an existing investment in the high-quality Cisco telephony experience. But if you're using Spark, you're probably using the Spark client, right, on PC. So you got to open the Spark client. You can chat with some people. You can maybe paste in a URL or copy out an email address. And then if you're using another application like Salesforce or something else, like a medical research application for most of your day, it would sure be convenient if you could embed that collaboration functionality directly in the application. And that's what these APIs and SDKs are built for. The three main kind of branches of SDK capability include the Spark REST API that's about messaging. So you can build interactive bots, you can build chat ops type of experiences where applications talk to people and vice versa. You can create Spark rooms automatically, put experts in them, upload files and reports, kick off meetings, all that good stuff. The Spark widgets are, as I described earlier, those UI components that are pretty much self-contained You can drop a few lines of code into a web page and enable interactive voice and video, for example, chat, the ability to share files in HTML apps. We also have full-featured SDKs for JavaScript and mobile that let you do essentially the same thing: embed voice, embed video, embed persistent chat. Most of the cool and key collaboration features in Cisco Spark as a platform, you can embed those essentially any way you want. So you can make it look and feel matched up to the CSS and layout of your application so that it doesn't look like Spark necessarily. It's just using our infrastructure on the back end. So with the Spark SDKs, you really have full control over the user experience. So like I said, you could have a unified app that includes your business logic, line of business functionality, as well as Cisco Spark collaboration embedded just as much or as little and in the way you would like to have it. As a use case, you might have a mobile banking application where people can start a chat or a live video conversation with a mortgage expert. That mortgage expert can share PDF files. The customer can sign a signature, upload that to the Spark room, and all of that can be accessed and collaborated with inside either the Salesforce integration that we talked about earlier or just a regular Spark client. So the good news, what I think is really cool about these SDKs for Cisco Spark is that they're fully open source, which I think is very interesting, especially the voice and video SDKs, which are quite extensive. Cisco has been a leading light in developing web RTC, voice and video standards across the internet for decades. We actually pay for the licensing for H.264 to make the voice and video the highest possible quality. But all this code is actually on GitHub, so you can go inspect it. You can look at it. You can have your security people run their tools against it. You can even modify it. You can change the look and feel of the widgets, for example, or add new features. And in fact, we're open to contributions. If you make a change to this open source SDK, fix a bug, add a small feature, we'll be happy to review that and possibly incorporate it. So we want to engage with the developer community in an open project that's just as easy to get access to as possible. So currently we support iOS for SDK development, JavaScript in the browser, and the Android SDK is finishing up its EFT now, as I understand it, and should be available shortly. Okay, so the REST API. This one's real straightforward. It essentially lets you automate the messaging inside Spark. It uses REST. If you're not a developer, you may not understand what REST means. It basically means that we're using the technology of the web to interact with this API. It's not SOAP. It's not some proprietary wire protocol. It works very, very well on the open internet, through firewalls, basically anywhere web applications are optimized for. And on any platform that can communicate on the web, REST APIs are there. So this is a great platform for developing applications. The home for everything having to do with Spark development is right here at developer.ciscospark.com. All of the tutorials, sample code, information about the API requests, what they can do, what they can't do, what the parameters are, all that is available in the documentation on this site. One of the cool things that you can do is actually enable this test mode if you're logged in. You can enable this test mode and use the documentation as an interactive test tool to exercise the Spark API. So in this case, it automatically populates the REST URL for messages. It's going to use a post, so I'm going to create a new message. And the destination is going to be the two person's email. So this is my email. I'm going to send a little text message to myself using the online documentation. If I click on run, I get a success. This is actually, the JSON response that you would get. And hopefully if I look over in Spark 220, that's about right. This should be the message that just came through. So it's really easy to play around with the API. You can extend this to PowerShell scripts, Bash scripting, Python. Like I said, things like Zapier. It's really easy to use these REST APIs to automate things. So you can have sys administrators create scripts on their servers if there's an alert to automatically send a message to the sysadmin Spark room. Right? So everybody carrying their mobile around will get a message that there's an urgent issue with server XYZ. That piece of script could upload some files, some reports, some additional information, could make sure all the experts assigned to maintaining that server are in the right room. There's lots of capabilities there to really get people together and connect them up with automated systems. In addition to just posting and pushing and controlling the Spark messaging capability, one of the cool things that you can do with this interface is interactive chatbots. So you can configure the Spark system with a webhook so that your application can actually receive a notification when a new message gets posted to a room, or your bot account gets added to a new group space. So you can make these applications interactive. They can talk to people, people can talk to them. You can use this for command and control. You probably used an interactive bot before. There's a number of frameworks out there for creating bots. HuBot is one. One of the more popular ones, if not the most popular, is BotKit, which we have worked with this group closely to integrate Cisco Spark to make this really easy. So the BotKit project is also on GitHub. You can grab the code just by cloning the repository here, and there are samples in there for Cisco Spark, as well as a number of other chat services. So the idea with BotKit is that you can build these bots once and use them against multiple services without having to do rewrites. So sort of a write once, use anywhere scenario. Just to show you how this works, I've already cloned the repo on my PC here. And let's see, if I change into the BotKit directory, all I need to do is install the dependencies from the Node package manager. This is implemented as a Node.js service. And then there are a couple of key pieces of information I need to launch this. So I need an access token. This is the developer token for Cisco Spark. You can grab that from the Spark for Developer page by creating a bot account. Very easy to do. Anybody can create a bot or an integration application or use any of the APIs with some exceptions like admin APIs. But essentially anybody with a Spark account is a developer. I'm going to grab the access token for this dstout123 Spark bot and use it here. The other thing I need is a public URL where this application is going to listen for notifications coming from Spark towards the application. Now this code is going to run on my desktop. Normally Spark would not be able to send just an ad hoc out of the blue message to my laptop inside all the layers of network between here and the Cisco cloud. So I'm going to use a little tool called ngrok, tool and service, that actually provides a public URL and tunnels that back through for development purposes. Not something you'd want to use in production, but it lets me use this code on my laptop and still look like I'm a web-facing service. So we're going to use Node as the runtime service. I need to go into the examples folder. and run the Spark sample. Hopefully this will work. Okay. It's not public URL, it's public address. So the idea is that this shows you that there is an open source package that you can download, run in literally a couple of minutes that implements a full-featured interactive bot with Cisco Spark. So my bot's up and running. If I switch over to my Spark client, I've already created a one-on-one room with this bot account, and I should be able to interact with it. Okay. So bots have the ability to use Markdown, so they can use formatted messages. If I look back at the ngrok, I can see that I'm getting inbound requests. This is the code for that bot example. Maybe with comments, let's see, close to 100 lines. And the cool thing is that essentially you can go in and copy and paste these or easily extend the functionality. So this particular function listens for that Markdown request and then sends a little piece of Markdown in a message. What I can do is copy and paste that. Have it listen for the word, let's do a slash command, /weather. And change the outcome, right? I think that looks right. We can try it out. So I can stop this, restart it. And just that quickly, I've added a new skill or capability to my bot. Now, I didn't do anything particularly intelligent there, but you could certainly do just about anything you wanted, really. Between this curly brace and this curly brace, that code is yours. So you can go to the National Weather Service, you can query live weather data, you can parse it, get it out of a database, a historical system, do whatever you want. So if you can code what's in between those braces, we have a framework to make it very easy to develop Spark bots, interactive chat bots. So let's move on. Got a few more minutes. The Cisco Spark widgets. So this is what I was describing earlier. These are kind of the full-featured UI components that, if you're familiar with the Spark client, these are essentially the code of the web-based Spark client that have been packaged up as SDKs. So there's a widget that shows you your recent conversations. There's a widget that allows you to interact with groups or people one-on-one and do the voice and video calling, file sharing, et cetera. All those are available, again, in a GitHub repository that you can access and compile and build into your web-based application. It's super easy integration. I'll show you here in a second. It's just a few lines of code at minimum. These are built to be responsive with HTML5 and React.js. And again, you have the source code, so you can make changes to how they look and feel. We actually do provide a content delivery network for the code for these things. So you can actually pull down the latest update and feature-rich versions of these widgets and not even have to host the code for those collaboration components. And again, these are WebRTC based, so no plugins, et cetera. This is sort of the smallest example I could come up with using one of these widgets. Oops, there we go. There's a style sheet that kind of provides the default look and feel that you will see. The second script line there is the actual source code, that bundle.js. that is the code of the widget that we want to use. And then there's some parameters that you need to pass into the container, in this case a div, where you want this widget to populate. So in this case, this is a very simple web page. There's essentially nothing in it except this invisible div. So it's going to take up the whole browser and fill it with the widget component. So let's see what that looks like. So the source code for this example is available at developer.cisco.com. There's a learning lab that will step you through this example. So here I've grabbed that access token from the Spark for Developer page for my user. Normally you wouldn't code this in like here. You might use OAuth or single sign-on so that people can securely and dynamically get that authentication token. But at the end of the day, that's what you need to launch it. And the other thing you need to provide is the target, right? So I want to make, in this case, a conversation happen with dstout@cisco.com. So this could be someone within your Spark organization, so someone you work with that you both have Spark accounts under the same org. But really, this could be anybody. This could be an outside customer. If they don't happen to have a Spark account that's aligned with this email address, they'll get an automatic invite to register with Spark and join. So it's pretty straightforward to use it even with people that aren't in your company. So if we launch this thing, you can see, like I mentioned, it takes over the whole screen, so it's a little odd looking. But this is the persistent chat that I've had over the course of several months with this particular user as I run examples. I can, chat interactively. I can share files. I can do a video call. All these capabilities just from pasting a couple lines of code in an HTML file, and then manipulating those parameters about who's making the conversation, who's launching it, and who the target is. In the example project on DevNet, there's a sample web app that postulates a fake banking site here where you might want to access specialists within your organization. So these specialists could have Cisco Spark clients. They could be connected to Salesforce. Spark has the capability to hook up to the PSTN or to connect to on-site Cisco telephony, like a call center or something like that. So there's all kinds of things that this could actually reach. But the idea is we want to make this Ask Sandy button live so that when we click on it, it launches the interactive collaboration session, right? So I can launch this straight into a voice or video call if I don't want to go into the chat portion or even expose that at all. But really it only takes one line of code inside this actual application to make this happen. So pretty cool. I have one other sample that actually shows using the Recents widget, which shows you all of your recent Spark conversations, and combines it with the conversation widget that we just saw here. So just like in the Spark client or in Slack or some other chat application, I can flip through my chat rooms and interactively start communicating with that. The source code for that is pretty straightforward. Let's see if I have it opened up. Not yet. But essentially, in this web page, we have, instead of just the one container with one widget, we have two. We have one that acts as the recent widget, one that acts as the space widget. And depending on the event that happens when we click on a particular space in the Recents widget, we dynamically instantiate using JavaScript the widget that goes in that other container that matches up with the room. So this sample is only 51 lines of code. Nobody's going to take this to production. Again, it's using Spark tokens that I kind of pasted in there. It's not a secure best practice with OAuth single sign-on or anything like that. But it shows you how simple it is to get a fairly interesting Spark-like experience in a web page with just a few lines of code. The Video SDK for iOS is also available and has kind of similar capabilities. So again, this iOS framework for Spark is open source. You can go to GitHub, download the full project, including this sample application that I probably won't have time to compile and run necessarily, but let's see if we can at least look at the storyboard. The idea is that you can use the full capability of iOS development to make a completely customized experience. So in this case, and this is pretty small, but you can log in with your Spark ID. It will actually launch the OAuth Spark authentication process, so this application is doing it right. You can configure audio and video setups. You can choose which camera you want to use, whether you want to send just audio or audio and video, and including designing the actual experience of the call itself. So once the call is begun, you can choose where you want the self view to be and how big that should be. There's a screen sharing video window where if someone's sharing on the other end, you'll be able to see that. Here, the actual whole window here is the far end. So you can completely customize the collaboration experience that's embedded into this mobile application. And when this runs, let me see if I can run it. Maybe not. I think I need to recompile it on this framework. Okay. Here's another example of an iOS SDK application that's kind of designed to demonstrate the effect of having a customized UI where you can for example, make this support button down in the very bottom right into a live collaboration experience using the SDK. So again, this is going to call my phone. And we're right in a video call. So this application chose to make the experience of that video call full screen. When that happens, but it could certainly be windowed, it could be in a floating window. Really, you have full control over what that looks like. And if you notice, it doesn't say Cisco Spark anywhere. The UI is completely under your control. You're just using our infrastructure to securely and privately transport the video and text messages, etc. So I'm pretty short on time. I just wanted to leave it open for questions. A few notes on capabilities. Like I said, Spark is not just these mobile clients and PC clients that can talk to each other. There's a whole universe of Cisco endpoints from big telepresence rooms to desktop video phones that Spark clients and applications like I've just described can interact with. So these can be big call centers. These can be people with desk phones. This could be, a multi-screen telepresence unit. Many things are possible with the infrastructure and architecture available with Cisco Spark. So just a picture of sort of how that works. The Cisco Spark Cloud connects to these clients. With the Cisco hybrid connector technology, you can connect the collaboration cloud with your on-premise Cisco telephony equipment. That can be connected to internet SIP providers or the PSTN via voice gateways. All kinds of options there, right? So if you're interested in learning more about, number one, the Spark integration with Salesforce, my small team is over in the Trailhead area in the developer forest. We'll be glad to show you a demo of that integration and maybe talk to you about some of the API capabilities. We also have, as Cisco, a more of a product-focused booth, so not so much on APIs. They may be able to give you a more in-depth information about the exact capabilities of the Salesforce integration, as well as the Cisco Spark platform itself. But developer.ciscospark.com is where most of these links lead to, is a great place to start. We have, like I said, extensive learning labs, online tutorials where you can teach yourself how to use these APIs from the ground up. We have live developer support 24/7 that's free to access. So we really want to make it as easy to get started with this stuff as possible. So it's free to sign up to Spark. These are open source projects. There's free learning available. Really interested to see what the developer community and customers can do with API. So that's all I had. Thank you. If there's any questions, be glad to entertain them. Otherwise, have a good afternoon.